Should you be union or non-union? That is the question. Welcome. Happy Thursday to you. My name is Mike Hathcote, and this is the VoiceOver Blueprint Daily VoiceOver Huddle. I'm here just to help you with your voiceover business, to help you grow it and maintain it and extend it and do everything you need to do with it to keep it going. That's what we're all about here. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. We'd appreciate that. And don't forget to also chat or chime in on the chat so we can do some shout outs here in a few minutes. Also, last pitch, or not last pitch, but the book, the VoiceOver Blueprint, available digital download and audiobook with 4 free gifts. Link below for that. It's the book I wish I had when I started, and hopefully it'll help you too if you're brand new. Okay, let's talk about union or non-union. And I'm not going to get into the weeds on this, but I'm going to give you kind of the high level overview of the differences in those two ways to do your voiceover business. And I'll just go ahead and tell you off the top, I am non-union, and I'll explain kind of what that means. And then, of course, the union rules as well. So you have to be one or the other, really, in this business. And there's some pros and cons for each of these categories, union versus non-union in voiceover. If you're non-union, there's a little bit more kind of freedom in the jobs that you can take. So you can basically work for you can take any job from any client, big or small, any pay, right? There's not as many kind of constraints on the kinds of work and the job or the price or the rate that you get paid for that work. So it's pretty wide open. Now you can't take, if you're non-union, you can't take union jobs, obviously, but any other jobs, big or small, any client, any rate, you can take those jobs if you're non-union. Now, the downside to being non-union is that, yes, the rates are all over the place. There's no kind of standardized rules that tell you what rate you should be paid. It's all over the map. So you have to kind of be more discerning and try to figure out, is this rate, am I worth doing this rate? And so that's one kind of downside. Um, but you can negotiate those rates, right? You have the freedom to negotiate back and forth with the client and come to a settlement on those rates. So that's a good thing, but just know that they're all over the place. Another kind of downside to non-union is there are no benefits. Um, there's, you know, there's although I know I talked to the other day about NAVA negotiating and having health benefits now, so that's kind of a good thing there. But with SAG-AFTRA, which is the union that both on-camera actors and voice actors and writers and, all that, they're in the union, so that insurance comes baked into the cake. You can have it with their union. Um, Also, it's easier to find work for non-union. You're not limited to just union jobs. You can go out and you can find work through online platforms, pay to plays, freelance platforms like Fiverr and Upwork and those kind of places. So there's no limits to where you go to find the work. A lot of agencies offer both union and non-union work. So in fact, pretty much all of them, if they're a decent agency, they will actually offer union and non-union jobs, but they'll tell you that when they post the opportunity, the audition, they'll say this is union only. So any jobs that I get or any audition opportunities that I get that are union only, because I'm non-union, I just have to skip them because I'm not in the union. So that's another kind of downside to doing the non-union way. Now, when it comes to union, when you become part of SAG-AFTRA, which is, like I said, the name of the union for voice actors, on-camera talent, writers, all of that, um, there is kind of a standardized pay scale for these jobs. And you take it or leave it. There's no negotiating. This is what it pays. Take it or leave it. So and typically the pay is higher because they've been negotiated and they are just higher rates. So they're kind of paying more for what you're worth. The downside to that is that there are fewer jobs, or there can be fewer jobs in union work. They're less plentiful. Like I said, in non-union, you can go out and find work anywhere, but when you're in the union, you're kind of limited to just union jobs. Okay. Next, if you are union, benefits. The benefits, like I said, are baked into the cake when you're in the union. You get those automatically. So that's a good benefit for being in the union, is getting those health benefits. And also, once again, limited access to all the jobs. You can, like, you're kind of forced into a smaller pool of jobs. But like I said, if you get into the union, the jobs are much better pay. So it's kind of, you have to kind of weigh the differences there. Fewer jobs but more money versus non-union, plenty of jobs and typically less money. So those are kind of the high level pros and cons for being union versus non-union. And there are plenty of people who have done both. There are people who started non-union and then switched over to union and vice versa. So, just because you're in doesn't mean you have to stay in the union. And just because you're non-union doesn't mean that. It's not like you have to decide, okay, forever, I'm going to be a non-union actor. Not the case. You can switch over anytime. So there you go. Union versus non-union. You decide which one is right for you. All right, let's see who's in today. All right, there's Edward, first in today from Jacksonville, Florida. And there's Mark from Montreal. Good morning, Terry from Falston, Maryland. Terry says he's been both union and non-union. See, there you go. There's Sean in Longview and Nancy in Yankton, South Dakota. There's Sarah in Kentucky and Nephi from Knoxville, Tennessee. And there's Rick from Minneapolis. Good afternoon, I guess, to you, if that's what it is there. There's Kirk from Greenville, South Carolina. David from Hamilton, Ontario, and LaDonna from St. Louis, Missouri. Jumped on me again, dang it. Hang on. There's Jason from Kearney, Nebraska, and Jim from Beaufort, South Carolina. Good morning, Maria from Rhode Island, and John from Denver. There's Theo from Palace Hills, Illinois, and Dennis from Long Island. I'm sorry, Denise. See, I did it again. Sorry, Denise. And there's Tracy from Rochester, Minnesota. And there's Clint from sunny Chandler, Arizona, right down the road from me. There's Alan from Pennsylvania and Becky from Michigan. Scotty from Brookings, South Dakota. Scotty, speaking of Scotty, he won our fake audition for this month. As I mentioned previously, every month in the VoiceOver Blueprint members-only Facebook group, we do a fake audition where I post a script, people submit their reads, we pick a winner, and then I add music and effects and video to it too. So you get a fully produced audio-video version of that spot that you can use for your demo. And Scotty was our winner this month. So congratulations again to Scotty. There's Andrew from Latvia. And there's Charlie from Sparta, Wisconsin. Says, great info. Got to get your book. Well, thank you. I think you'll enjoy it. I've had lots of good comments so far about it. So hopefully it'll help you as well. Jay from Covington, Georgia. Clint says, is it important to respond to the union offers with a keep me in mind letter or just ignore? Well, if you're not in the union, you wouldn't need for them to keep you in mind because you can't do the job anyway. So if you get If I get a union offer, one of my agents sends me an offer for a job or, an audition for a job that's union, I just delete it. I don't even open it up because I can't submit for it anyway. So no, I don't even bother. There's Callie from Pasco. And there's a Dennis from Grant Park. Dennis and Denise, Denise and Dennis. I'll get it right one of these days. There's Robert from Tulsa. Keno says union dues. Yes. I know there are union dues that are due, but I'm not aware of what they are since I'm not in the union. That's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. I think there are also limits, and this is if somebody's on here that's in the union, let me know. I think there is actually a threshold or a kind of a limit to, I guess, or quota, I guess is the better word, a quota as to how much you have to make in the union before you get the benefits and stuff like that. So you have to kind of hit a qualification number or a ceiling or whatever you want to call it, so that you can actually qualify for some of the benefits that are in there. So yes, that's another level to try to discuss or to decide whether or not you want to be on the union or not is, can you make that limit? Maria says, I highly recommend Mike's book. It consolidates a lot of information we are learning here. Well, thank you. Thank you, Maria. Marlene says, good morning from Fresno, California. How did you pronounce your pronunciation research go yesterday? Thank you for asking. And it went great. In fact, no notes on that. Usually, especially when it's hard to pronounce, technically, usually if it's medical terminology, that's pretty straightforward. But when it comes to names and stuff, especially names from the Middle East, which is what this was for, you have to kind of put that dialect on it, and it can be a little bit more difficult to do that, especially if you're not used to speaking in that dialect. You have to put that kind of a spin on the pronunciation. And I did a lot of research on it and I sent it to them and there's no corrections. So good to go on that. And now here's here's the second part of the scenario. Now I have to take what they approved and I have to now sync it to their video scratch track. Of course, I'm charging extra for that because that's going to take a lot of work. So I'm going to take their video and I'm going to listen to their scratch track, their AI scratch track, and I'm going to then sync up my recording to their recording so that what I'm saying actually matches what's being shown on the screen. It's going to take a while to do that. But so part one was recording, part two is syncing. So I'm actually going to get on that right after this huddle. Callie says, I'm in the union as an actor, just switching gears over the last year into voiceover, so I haven't really learned all the rules for VO about that yet. I'm guessing it's pretty similar. Yeah, I would guess so. And I'm not sure if you have to do voiceover from, like, if you're in the union for being an on-camera actor, if you can do non-union for VO. I don't know. This is where I'm a little bit clueless on that part of things. But I don't know if you can do either or you have to be all or nothing. So, but Callie does say you have to make a certain amount of income before you get the insurance and pension. Oh yeah, the pension. That's another thing, that you can get a pension if you're in the union. Terry says this might help in terms of union dues. The national initiation fee rate is currently $3,060, although it may be lower in some states. Annual base dues are $241.32. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that information, Terry. So I guess when you join the union up front, $3,060, and then every year after that, $241.32 is what they've, I guess, negotiated. And John confirms that. He says initiation for SAG-AFTRA is about $3K. Annual base dues are around 240+% of jobs. Yep. So that matches pretty much what Terry said as well. All right. So there you go. Union versus non-union. You decide which is right for you. I've toyed with it because I've hit to the point now where, you know, well, I don't know. I don't know if I would be willing to have that limit. I like being, master of my own domain and going out and finding the work for myself instead of just kind of sitting back and waiting for union jobs to land in my lap. So that's where I'm at. But once again, you decide where you are and figure out which way is best for you. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to get to doing some video syncing here in a sec. And then I've got some other jobs already hitting the inbox for today. So I've got a busy one lined up. Oh, Callie, okay, that's a good point too. Callie says annual dues go up the more money you make. Yeah, so that's kind of what John was saying too. 240 plus the percentage of jobs that you've gotten is what John said. So yeah, Callie, that matches up. Okay, guys. Well, you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is Q&A Friday. So bring all your questions tomorrow, and we'll just answer those and get ready for the weekend. All right. So until tomorrow, Q&A Friday, I will see you then. Talk to you soon.